All right, welcome to Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is going to cover topics of photosynthesis, respiration. We're going to go through those fairly quickly. Then we are going to go on to cell division and DNA replication. So this is going to be our first introduction to DNA, even though we've been talking about it and mentioning it all year. We'll finally look at and start picking apart what that is. But we're going to start off with photosynthesis real quick here. I am going to include a YouTube video for you to watch that's going to give a more in-depth explanation than I am and the book will be. So I highly suggest you watch that and jot down a few notes based off of what the SciShow guy is going to tell you. So let's look at photosynthesis. Just breaking the word down. Photo means light and synthesis means to create or put together. So you can go through the process. That photosynthesis is the process in which cells are going to capture that light, use that energy to break apart, looking at our equation down here, breaking apart carbon dioxide and water, and going to put together glucose and oxygen. This arrow here is called a yield sign, and it needs light energy in order to yield. So that's where the sun comes in place. You can't see our little corner. There we go. Who benefits from photosynthesis is pretty much all living things are going to benefit from it. You can think of your food webs and food chains that you talked about in the past years in your science class, but we have our producers or autotroph that actually goes through the process of photosynthesis. Some kind of organism decides to eat that, and the sugars and stuff that it made through photosynthesis get transferred into our heterotroph. Eventually something else eats that heterotroph, and something else eats that heterotroph, and so on and so forth. And that energy gets passed along through your food chain. So heterotrophs do not go through photosynthesis, but they will eat things either directly or indirectly that do. This here is your chloroplast. This is where photosynthesis takes place. Again, the SciShow video will go a little more in depth on this than the book or I do, so it is important to watch that and take some notes on it. But photosynthesis is going to happen in two stages. We're going to have a light-dependent stage and a light-independent stage. Your first stage is about capturing the sun's energy. That is your light-dependent stage. It depends on light. Inside these organelles, these chloroplasts, you do have these structures here, thylakoid, that will, thylactoid, that will capture the sunlight and process it. And it's going to take that sunlight and start breaking down your molecules. After those molecules get broken down, your light independent stage happens, or your Kelvin cycle, and that's going to happen inside the stroma here, which is kind of this fluid aqueous solution inside your cell. Again, the SciShow video is going to go a little more in depth into that. This here is the most important thing in this chapter, is knowing this equation. This is our formula for photosynthesis. So real quick, CO2, you can see here this is 1 carbon and 2 oxygen atoms combined to form carbon dioxide. I need 6 carbon dioxide molecules in order for photosynthesis to occur. I need to combine that with 6 water molecules. I need to expose that to sunlight inside the chloroplast, and it's going to yield 1 glucose molecule, which is C6H12O6, and 6 diatomic oxygen molecules, which is the 6 O2s here. So this is what's important. When we get into respiration, you'll notice that respiration is kind of the backwards of this. It's taking these two chemicals and turning it into these two chemicals. So we will talk about that in respiration, but this here is the most important thing to take out of this section.